So starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Kuf Samach Zayin, and the purpose here is to answer up all the questions on the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Ches. The Gemara said that the Torah will be forgotten, and then Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says it won't be forgotten, but what will be forgotten is that there will be machlokes. And the Rebbe asked a lot of questions on this in the last siman. The main question was that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai has a pasuk that Lo yisi shachach mipi zaroi, the Torah won't be forgotten. And the Gemara never explains how the Rabbanan deal with that pasuk. Okay? That's first of all. And second of all, there was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai also said that forgetting the Torah means, what forgetting there will be means that there will be machlokes. And the question is, machlokes always existed, number one. And number two, the Gemara in Chagigah Daf Gimel, where the Gemara speaks about machlokes, it says that if you get scared off from learning Torah because you see all the machlokes, the answer is everything was given by one Hashem. How does that answer the question, and how does that help you decide what halacha is? Okay, so Abal Ha'emes Habaru was that the clear truth, the clear teretz on this question is Shebavada yesh derech b'chol machlokes lo vayal emes. Avada, there really is a way to decide every halacha when you have a machlokes. B'chol dvar halacha l'fa'amim al yidei klal dachri rabim lahatois. Sometimes the answer is to go after the majority. Oy klal macherim. Sometimes the halacha is like a different rule for paskin, like halacha karav b'isurim and kashmul b'dinim, and halacha kediver mekel ba'avel. Talmidei Chachamim balei asufos, that these gathered Talmidei Chachamim who sit and learn Torah, hamatamim, v'hamatayrim, ha'oisrim, v'hamatirim, they have different opinions, but boim lidei hashva, they can be straightened out. It's possible to straighten out. And this took place for hundreds of years, that there were machlokes and they straightened them out. And in fact, I think some people even say that before the machlokes of Smicha, which is the first machlokes in Shas, there were other machlokes too, just that they dealt with it by posting like the Roy. And that's why we don't know about them. Okay? But there is one condition that you need in order to follow all the rules, and that is that it has to be everyone's basing their opinion on the Torah and from Dvar Hashem. The Gemara al-Zeh, the Gemara in the Chagigah Daf Gimel says on this many Lashonis. Roya echad, kel echad, parnas echad. Hashem gave the Torah. He's one shepherd, one God, one leader.
Sustainer. Parnas sustainer.
Parnas sustainer. Yeah. Mipi adain kol hamaisim baruchu, from the master of all the deeds. The Ratzalai Rasha b'chol habachinai sheyesh b'hal inyan, that in all the different ways of looking at the Torah, ein bohem shum hashpa'at studies. All of them are based on Hashem. They're based on Hashem's support, parnas. They're based on His mastery of the world. They're based on His shepherding of us. They're based on Him in all different ways. They're not being supported by anybody else. They're not accepting money and get bribes from anyone. They're completely, totally only in Hashem. Shuma ein bohem shum hashpa'at studies. That these poskim who are paskening don't have any side influence, ulterior influences, min ha'olam, from the rest of the world. Me'ez tzad shehu. El kol hadeis bo'im rak mihashpa'as ha'Torah Kedosha. That all their opinions only come from the Torah Kedosha. Shehi hashpa'ah elokis, the hashpa'ah from Hashem. Loi zulas klal uklal loi. And they don't have any outside influence. And by the way, Baruch Ber, in the Birkas Shmuel in the beginning, Reuven writes about Baruch Ber that he used to be very careful not to read any outside books and things that would influence his mind, because he held that in order to learn Torah, you have to have the Torah to mind. You have to know what's a kasha, what's a teretz. You can't just stop and ask anything you want and answer anything you want. You have to know how to ask a kasha.
Of course, you know what?
So, in order to teach himself that, he made sure not to read outside things that would influence his mind in the wrong way.
One thing, there is the things that you do ask that you don't. If you ask just something, how do you manage to go for a monkey, it's not even worth asking.
So,
and it's not even worth answering even to you who think a man for a monkey.
Okay, so therefore, just like Baruch Ber said that, so that's what he's saying here about all influences, not only influences from secular books, but also influences from people who are giving you support.
Oh, no, Baruch Ber would not even read newspapers, even the fruit he wouldn't even read.
Right. V'azai mitztarfin kol adeus. And that's when you have every opinion based on Torah like that, and purely on Torah, then all the opinions could join together.
But the opinions against Zionism are based on their views, not only the Torah's views.
Wait, now v'yotzei mehem halacha brura l'chol ha'olam, and then from then can come out the halacha. You can paskin halacha clearly, even if you have disagreement, as long as all the opinions are based on Torah. Ki kulam mimekor echad boim. They're all coming from the same source. L'chavin ratzon haboirei baruchu. They're all trying to get to the truth of what Hashem wants. La'amita shel Torah, to the truth of Torah. Ma'ashen came b'dor parutz, in a generation that's breached and people are just influenced by the outside world. The gam hachachamim teshushay koyach, and even the chachamim, the Torah scholars of that generation, are also weaker. And v'yiras ha'am aleim, and they're afraid of the people. But siruf atzah siravam, and also because of Yiravam's eitzah, shemashivim rasha eitzel tzadik, that they see Rishaim and tzadikim sitting together in the Knesset, and they see, okay, look, they're the tzadikim right there too, so that influences them. V'ein kol hadeis mimekor echad, and therefore all opinions are not coming from one source.
They're coming from the Zionists.
They're not coming from Torah. They're not coming from one supporter. It's one big mixture. Yesh bohem. There is one big mixture among them. Midas kol hatzibur miflaga shonos, that they come from the whole Jewish people and all the different secular groups and different parties. Hamashpim al kol ha'am, which have influence on the people. V'al hamanhigim, and an influence on the leaders. With samois einei koel, and they blind the eyes of everybody. V'al matzav dor kozeh. And regarding such a case, that's where Darash Reb Shimon Bar Yochai Hinei Yom Boim. That's what Reb Shimon Bar Yochai means the pasuk refers to. Not to a machlokes like in the time of Chazal, or the time of the Rishonim Machronim, but a machlokes like today about Zionism, where you have everybody's opinion and you don't know who to follow because you don't know who's saying it l'shem shemaim, who's basing it on Torah, and who's not.
Well, I guarantee you that those who worked for the Israeli government said not l'shem shemaim. Like Avad Yosef, for example, was president of the Torah Studies Council.
In fact, not only that, but most of the Gedolim and Rabbanim who paskin on the Shiloh of Zionism and talked about the Shiloh don't even give sources. You just hear, oh, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that.
Or they say it's going to happen, this will happen if we don't do it.
Who besides the Satmar Rebbe writes a sefer where he explains everything based on halacha.
Right, and also, they say if we give the land back, the Arabs will kill us out. Or if we do this will happen. Or the Arabs will kill us out.
Okay.
When really there are ways to get Jews, instead of spending money on the idea, to spend money getting out of Israel, for example.
Okay. So therefore,
one thing. If Chas...
So Yeshoit to Levakesh Dvar Hashem V'lo Yimso. That's where Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says they'll search for the words of Hashem and they won't find it. She'omer al zeh shelo yimsu halacha brur b'makom echad. Reb Shimon says that means that they won't find halacha clearly paskin in one place. For what's the Loimar shelo yavayu hadeus mimakom echad. That all the b'makom echad refers to Hashem, means that the halacha won't be from one place. They won't all come from one place. Shehu araya echad parnas echad. That it comes from Hashem. Ela mehashpas harabim. It will actually come from the influence of the outside world. Hatoyim miderech oemes. Those people who have strayed from the path. Umi yoyer deo mi yavin shmua. So who can paskin halacha now? Move on b'shas chagiga. She'ein menil limud Torah machmas hamachloikis. Now you understand the pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara in Chagiga says what? You're going to be afraid to learn Torah because you don't know how to paskin between all the different opinions? No, that's not a problem. Machmas machloikis hachacham. Kivan shekula meroya echad nitnu, because since all the opinions are from one source, mipi adam kol hamaisim baruchu loy zulas bevada yetzim he'am alacha brura lamisha mato aznei kafar chesed liknos leiv mevin. For sure that from that will come out a halacha, a clear halacha for anybody who pays attention and listens carefully. La'afuke ador alachron, mashenkin, by this generation, the last generation, asher aleim amru chazal, asiyah Torah shedishtakach miYisrael, that generation of the forgetting of Torah, ki haroyim v'parnasim heimo das hakol, that the leaders of the generation are really just lay leaders, secular leaders, or leaders of maybe from, but they're people who are influenced by the kahal, and they're influenced by the winds of the times, right? They don't have the das Torah in their minds. These people have influence even on the leaders. Kamash Amruzal, like the Chazal say, that a shofet has to be independent, like he was saying before.
Yeah.
I think Siman Kuf Samach.
Ain't shofet not nishpat, but shofet. He's the judge.
Right. And what was
Which
the
means
generation?
he still has to be a shofet, whether he leaves a kilo or not.
That judges their judges,
Yeah.
and if the Rav says something they don't agree with, then they judge him. Adrabah, he has to judge them. So now you have many opinions today's world, and you don't know which one to follow, because you don't know which one is said independently and which one is said because of the influence of the generation, right? And not only that, you might even say the Rebbe is not being partial here. He's saying, look, he's also one of the opinions. So how do you know to follow him? Maybe he's being influenced by the people. How do you know? You never know who to follow here. So we're going to get to the answer to that in a minute. Who is it that's not being influenced and is only saying the pure Torah? I'm going to explain, according to this, the sweetness of Chazal's language, the remez that Chazal put into the language. After the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Hashem only has in this world 4 amas of halacha bilvad. So the question is, what's this extra word bilvad? Siyum haloshin bilvad hu miyuter. This extra word is extra. It's not serving any purpose. The kivan sha'amar ein loy aladal amas halacha. Since it already says he doesn't have anything but the 4 amas of halacha. Shapri yadina dezoisi v'loy acheres. We already know that's the only thing he has. So what's the word bilvad? That even once you have these daled amas of halacha, you also have to analyze it and make sure that it's halacha bilvad. Make sure it's only based on Torah. And they're not influenced by the people's views. Which can sometimes have an influence against.
So therefore, those who say that the modern Orthodox opinion should be taken seriously, the modern opinion are largely based on secular knowledge, because they highly believe in secular knowledge, and they consider valid if they make up a machlokes based on secular knowledge. But we see here not so. Yeah. That's why the modern Orthodox therefore make all kinds of mistakes in feminism.
The nichla bazeh, included in this, is kol minei taruvos haragilim lisarif, all the different possible things that could get mixed into halacha, b'doros v'achronim, that get in these generations, b'dalad amas halacha, that they could get mixed into your 4 amas of halacha. Asher loy bach.
Right, so keep them out. That means keep all these early out halacha. Right.
That Hashem did not choose these things. Ve'enam mechavnim elo emes, and they don't guide you towards the truth. U'v'oisei ador, in such a generation, bevadai shablatzul klalim shalachri rabbim lahatois v'chadoyim. Now you don't have this rule of following a majority, because even if you have a majority, if they're all influenced by the kahal, then
it's not Torah anymore.
Then that's not, that doesn't count.
It's not Torah.
See, ki nelam me'ador, because we don't know today, mi v'mi, hema shadaitam tohara. Who are the poskim whose opinions are pure? Shemeroya echad nitnu, that were given from one shepherd. V'lo yishpia aleim ador me'uma, and the rest of the generation had no influence on them. So how do we find out who to follow? So that we're going to see in the coming siman. Mitzvah Hashem.